What's up, everybody? A fun little episode today. I told Andrew I'd come on here myself and do this today because, sometimes you got to take your medicine, right? And, sometimes you got to come on and you got to just, take your medicine. So, Luca Nation, Lucas, Tigers, and Bronze, oh my, it is me giving your NFL overreactions, today. But let's start off really quick by saying, whew, what a crazy weekend. We're here for episode 907. If you listened to our episode last week, Andrew and I gave kind of like an NFL, preview. He said Josh Allen's overrated. We'll talk about Josh Allen in a second. Clearly, he had that game pegged. I gave a bunch of props over the weekend, decided to post them out there for the whole world, and also gave my picks that week in that NFL preview episode. I was 2-2 on the picks. Should have been a little bit better. Definitely called that 5.5 was too much for the Bills to be giving. Didn't see it going the way that it is. I said that if I were making the spread in the 49ers-Cowboys game, I'd make it 5.5 because I think that the 49ers are going to win by 6, and they won by 7. So I got that one pretty close. But I thought the Giants would keep it a little bit closer than the Eagles let them. The Eagles blew them out. Thought that the Eagles, and the Giants divisional matchup third time, you'd expect that to play a little closer than it did. And the Chiefs, I expected the Chiefs to cover that, 8.5, 9-point spread. They were up. They wound up only winning by 7 because of a late field goal, that, weird little backdoor cover. Nobody expected Mahomes getting injured in the game. I gave some props this weekend. Game flow is fun, man. If you're going to talk about sports betting, game flow is a lot of fun, right? So, nailed Kelsey scoring a touchdown. I think he had 2. He definitely had the first one. And then it just went downhill from there. The props on the games were just, they were they were not so spectacular. I got to tell you, I tried to do, at least one from each game. Tried to give ones yesterday's games. And, let me tell you, the Bengals game, thought Josh Allen would be running more. The snow obviously hampered that. The game flow hampered that. I expected it to be a closer game instead of Buffalo being behind the whole time and him trying to be stuck in the pocket throwing. Also, I expected the Bengals to keep it close and Burrow would have to continue throwing. I expected him to have more than those 25 completions. He had 18 at halftime and only 5 in the second half because he was up. Sometimes that happens with game flow. Sometimes that's just the way that it goes. So I will be the first one to tell you, didn't kill it this weekend on the props. 2 for 4 on the actual game calls. But yeah, man, I mean, them's the breaks. But let's have some fun with the overreactions and let's talk about how it impacts cards and let's talk about emotions. Let's talk about how. If you guys check out my story, you'll see, I put in there Mr. Relevant, Brock Purdy. I made a T-shirt, Mr. Relevant to Breakers and Panini. I wish we could go back in our time machines, and talk about the beginning of the season. Football releases are coming out, and people are pre-ordering, and people are going to be like, hey, yeah, I got to order this year's, NFL class because, got Brock Purdy in there. That dude's going to be pretty good. No one was saying that. But they're saying it now, and, he's looked good. The dude is a rookie, Mr. Irrelevant, to the NFC Championship game where, his team has a legitimate shot to advance and potentially even win a Super Bowl. One of 4 teams, right? You ride the momentum. No team has more momentum than them. They haven't lost since he came on. They were on a winning streak before he came on, though. Let's keep that in mind as well. Jimmy G had won some games before Mr. Purdy joined them, before he got hurt. But, I saw an eBay sale, guys, over $10,000 for a sticker mosaic auto of Brock Purdy. I don't know that any Dan Marino card has ever sold for more than $10,000. I know Brock Purdy might win a Super Bowl his rookie year, and Dan Marino never won one. But I guess the point here, guys, is let's be a little careful, right? Let's not completely go on emotion, but more importantly, just because you see people posting a $10,000 Brock Purdy autograph sale does not mean that actually happened, right? And I'm not going to get into hanky-panky. I'm not going to get into all this stuff. For all I know, it's paid for and done. Some humongous Brock Purdy fan wanted that mosaic auto of him for $10,000. Entirely possible. Entirely possible. It's also possible as, as products are out there and people want you to open those products and they want you to chase those cards thinking I could hit a $10,000 Brock Purdy card in here. There are ways to make sales look like comps and ways to, buy that thing and not actually, complete the deal. I'll be watching eBay to see whether or not that is something that gets relisted. And even if it is, even if it's paid for, remember Mac Jones' Donruss card last year. Remember, what that sold for in PSA 10. And, I don't even know if you can get $1 for it now. So just easy with the emotion, easy with the overreaction on stuff. And it works both ways. I mean, Andrew would come on here and tell you that Josh Allen is a fraud. He actually used that word, a fraud. I happen to think that if you're a Buffalo Bills fan, you got to like having Josh Allen as your quarterback. And while the dominoes didn't exactly fall for you this year, he gives you a chance to be playing competitive January football every year. I mean, that team has a very high floor. You know what I mean? They're not going to stink. That's going to be a good team. They'll probably make some changes, and you got to hope that they'll learn from it. I'm not in the camp yet that he is a bust. I'm not in the camp that he's a fraud, like Andrew would say. I'm not in the camp of dumping him now, but there will be people who are going to dump him, and that is also, I believe, an overreaction. He lost to a very good team and a very good quarterback, and to think that will be his last chance to get to the promised land, I think, is a mistake. So I think on the other side, I mean, while people are exuberant for Brock Purdy, you may have an opportunity to possibly grab a Josh Allen card if that's a guy you want to make a bet on, as people overreact with him being eliminated. Trevor Lawrence, you might not get that same chance because I don't see people dumping his stuff just yet. Remember, Josh Allen was a 2018 rookie, right? He's been in the league now 5 years. Not the same for Trevor Lawrence. So, people are seeing that, steady increase on Lawrence. They're not so quick to hop off the train. That increase for Josh Allen has sort of hit one of these kind of, move it down a little. And he didn't improve on last year. Last year, remember, he was that crazy Mahomes, Allen, back and forth, 15 seconds left game away from getting to the AFC Championship game. People probably expected him to try to take a further step this year, and he didn't. So Joe Burrow, Burrow looks like one of those guys. So does Mahomes. You have a repeat AFC Championship game. Let's give Mahomes some credit. I'm not a big Mahomes fan. I'll never really give him too much credit because I am a Raider fan. But Mahomes is the guy, man. I mean, if you're a Chiefs fan since 2017 in the Mahomes era, you have seen almost every football game that they could play in. They have not missed at least the AFC Championship game. And he's obviously played in some Super Bowls. So, you sign up for that every year. But the fun part is you guys listen to me and Andrew do our show, daily. And you go back to our NFL preseason stuff and we compare not just who we think is going to go where and what's going to happen this year, but we talk about how it relates to cards. And I give a laundry list of guys that I would be careful about investing in. Everyone from Zach Wilson to Mac Jones to Justin Fields to, I'm forgetting a million guys, but all the young quarterbacks, guys. And the reason why I said I'd be careful investing in all those AFC quarterbacks is because they all have to still run through the gauntlet that is the AFC. They still all have to run through the Josh Allen, the Patrick Mahomes, and the Joe Burrow that are there. And you never know which one might get through. This year into the Final Four snuck a Trevor Lawrence. Who knows if that's going to continue next year? You have no idea. But it seems like the gatekeepers now for the Super Bowl, you're going to have to beat Mahomes or Burrow. And for those guys, they're going to have to beat one another. So far, Burrow's gotten the better end of that deal. And we'll see what happens. I tend to think Mahomes is going to play. we'll see later in the week. We'll make some calls about that game and see, how his ankle's doing. Dude's a trooper, man. Obviously injured and did not want to get out of the game. Wanted to make sure that he was there, give his team the best chance to win. And good for him. On the other side of the equation, what I told you about Josh Allen, and I know people might overreact and you might be able to get a chance to kind of, dump and, maybe pick it up. There's also fool's gold out there, right? And I live in New York. I have been steadfast all year in my non-belief for Daniel Jones. All right. And he had a great offensive year. He really did, right? By any measures. He could scramble, he threw the ball. It didn't exactly have such great weapons. Saquon's good, but Saquon disappeared in the playoffs here. And, they were kind of embarrassed by the Eagles. I think what you saw this year is the best you're ever going to get from Daniel Jones. And I think if you're holding his cards, I might actually, try to get what I can for them. I probably would have already sold my Daniel Jones cards, but if you're holding, I might try to move them. I would not be like, if someone's dumping Daniel Jones, I would not be jumping on him, expecting him to take a next step and be in that great quarterback conversation. I wouldn't expect much better from him at all, ever. Hurts is an interesting one, right? Because you guys know my take on Hurts, and you see Hurts' cards are all down. He got hurt. I didn't call that. You never want anybody to get hurt. But this is a big game for him, right? It's a big game for him. And we talked about the other side about Brock Purdy. It's definitely a winnable game for the Eagles. I mean, the Eagles will be at home. They were the best team all year, and they earned that home field. And we'll see what happens. Purdy looked, human, as you'd expect somebody, drafted as Mr. Irrelevant to be. Hurts' cards are significantly lower than they were when he was undefeated, and it looked like he might win the MVP and all that other fun stuff. What's funny is here I was, sell your Hurts. He could be a buy. Hurts could potentially be a buy. I'm not going to go as far as, there are people on ESPN today. I think his coach, Sirianni, compared him to Michael Jordan. They said that Jalen Hurts is our Michael Jordan. Now, he might be their Michael Jordan, but to compare him to Michael Jordan is kind of silly. But, he's what Dallas thought Dak was. He can go out there and pick up a first down when it's 3rd and 3 by running the ball. You can rely on him. And what I've seen so far, although the Giants defense is not exactly the greatest defense in the world, we're going to see better defenses going forward against him. He doesn't really make that mistake. He's not throwing the ball, into double coverage. He's tucking it and running with it, and he's making kind of the right plays. So I kind of like that. I was surprised at how well they played. He's got weapons. Miles Sanders looks back and healthy and looked great. I called Devontae Smith to having a great game, and he did also. Missed that prop by a yard. He had it. He had it by 5, and on his last catch, they called a penalty, and he got the 5 yards plus the first down with the penalty. Set the 5 yards, and it being second down. So I missed it because of that. It's just funny how those props will go. How the bets will go, and then they didn't throw the rest of the game because they were up by so much. I will say this, and from a card standpoint, I made a statement last week that the teams that seem to be surviving now are the quarterbacks that know how to find their tight ends. And the teams that have those tight ends that are the safety valves, they're the ones that go out there and seem to do well. And I saw a lot of people win this weekend betting huge parlays on tight end scoring touchdowns, tight end scoring first touchdowns. And you saw Kelsey have 2 touchdowns. You saw, what's his name? Hayden Hurst actually had a good game. That's his name, right? The Cincinnati Bengals tight end. I even forgot he was on that team, but there's no shortage of weapons for Tennessee. Joe Mixon really showed up for Cincinnati. I said in our preview that I expected Mixon to have a good game. It was going to be more running the ball. But look on the other side. Kittle is amazing. You have Kelsey is amazing. And now you have, Goddard. And he was a touchdown scorer also. Kittle had a great game. So you're seeing this sort of change in the NFL and the way they play it. They're using their weapons, and the tight end has become a very big weapon, especially I believe with the mobile QB, because that's what happens, right? They do these sort of RPOs, they do these run pass options where a quarterback has the ability to kind of, make a quick call. Let me dump it off 3 yards, 4 yards to the tight end. Let me tuck it and run and grab those 3 or 4 yards. So it's not a surprise to me. I've been saying this now for quite a few weeks that if you watch the good tight end play, you'll see those teams that are able to survive in the playoffs, play good defense, good tight end play, and go. I don't know. I'm not telling you to go invest in any tight ends, but it's pretty relevant to see that these quarterbacks who have that kind of that security blanket tight end. People asked last year, I know we did in an episode, who's the better weapon for Mahomes? Is it Tyreek Hill or is it Travis Kelce? And I think you learned this year that obviously Tyreek Hill is a weapon, but look what Kelce does. Look what he provides for Mahomes in those scrambling plays. You know where he's supposed to be, and he allows drives to be extended. Mahomes knows if he's in trouble, throw it that way, and more often than not, Kelce's going to make the play for him. Looking ahead, just like a quick, easy look ahead. We'll do this with Andrew as it gets closer, and I'll give props again. I don't care, guys. I have fun with it. I research the hell out of these things. The rationale is right, even if sometimes the bets are wrong. We'll do some props. We'll do some plays. I really am looking forward to that AFC rematch. I'm really enjoying Burrow. Play. I enjoy watching him play. I think what Burrow is doing is it's quarterback play at its finest, and Mahomes is right there, right? I mean, Mahomes is just a different, unorthodox style of playing quarterback, and obviously both of those guys get it done. It would be a shame if we don't get full Mahomes and he's injured and we don't get to, see that. And on the other side of the equation, it's kind of like, an interesting matchup, The Niners have a very good defense. I know the Cowboys were up and down. I called it last week. I said, that we've only seen the best team 2 or 3 weeks out of 19. And, the Cowboys have a chance to put up 30 on anybody. But the Niners defense is a good defense. We'll see whether or not the Eagles can kind of run roughshod on them the way that they do on, against a lot of other people. But the same goes for Purdy. And I mean, the Eagles, they seem to come out there in the first quarter, first half, and just really start chopping wood. They really start scoring points. And if Purdy is behind and is forced to have to try to make up points and throw the ball, I don't know if he's that guy. I guess we'll learn. So exciting football, exciting, fun stuff to come. Somebody asked me by DM, what's the best thing for the market? Like who winning of the 4 quarterbacks that are left? And I had a really hard time with it. I really did, because I can make an argument for all 4 of them, right? And let's do it, right? I can make an argument that Mahomes winning is great because now you have that. It's solidified as potentially the next Tom Brady. Does he have 7 rings? No. But it shows people who were investing in Mahomes, like, okay, great. It's fair that you were paying so much money for Mahomes. It kind of, really puts a floor in there. And it's not just Brady and everyone else chasing Brady. It's okay. We have this other level of real good QB with the, MVPs and Super Bowls. And if the floor pricing and demand goes up for Mahomes, you would like to think it's going to move some of the other stuff with it. At least that was the argument that I had for Mahomes. I can make a similar argument for Burrow. I think that if Burrow wins, now you have another guy. You have another Super Bowl winner, another young guy who, if you were a quarterback investor and you invested in Mahomes, you're probably doing okay, right? If you're a quarterback investor in Burrow, this means that now yet another quarterback investment that you did is probably going to pay off. Burrow's cards are probably going to do all right if you win the Super Bowl. It kind of notches a floor. You can't take that Super Bowl win away from Joe Burrow. So I think you can make an argument on the AFC. Either one of those guys winning the Super Bowl is a good thing. On the NFC side, same kind of thing. Like Hurts was more of a long shot kind of bet coming into this year. I do the Black Jada Wolf Uncaged with Sharon, and she was the Tua and Hurts investor. And I even said buy Hurts before the season when you compare his prices to someone like Justin Herbert. And he was like a fifth of the price. And I'm like, at that price, he's a value. If he wins, there are people who bought in high in the season. You'd like to think maybe if he wins, maybe they can get back to where they were or close when I said sell. maybe he'll get back to where it was if he would have sold when I said so. But the people who were investing in him early and held on to some or all of their cards, it's another quarterback investment. It's another player that, in addition to Mahomes, I don't think Burrow stuff goes down too much if he loses now. He's kind of solidified himself as a good investment and continuing to, I know he went to the Super Bowl last year. You'd like to see him go back again and take the next step, but still, AFC Championship game, pretty impressive. Same thing, Hurts and Purdy. I mean, from a wax perspective, this class was one that you were like, I remember last year, everybody talking about how just put the wax away between Mac Jones and Zach Wilson and Trevor Lawrence and Fields and all these other guys. It's going to be the best class. Just put it away. One of those quarterbacks. You didn't hear about this class. You heard Malik Willis and Kenny Pickett were going to be, middle of the road guys, might not even start. Willis didn't look good. I happen to think Kenny Pickett's going to be all right. Got some good wide receivers in this class. Nobody really collects wide receivers. I don't hear, Drake London's name being thrown out there as like a must-have in the breaks, or Chris Olave or Pickens. But Brock Purdy wins the Super Bowl. All of a sudden, all the wax becomes relevant, right? All of it becomes, more sought after. You want to rip it, when immaculate, impeccable, flawless national treasure comes out. Everybody's looking for the RPA of the guy who's won the Super Bowl. Now, that adds another layer to it. So, I can make an argument, and this was a long DM response. I can make an argument for all four of them, being good for the hobby. So we have some fun stuff. I'm eating a little crow after giving my props and not really, coming through on them. But those are breaks. We'll have some more. You guys have been with us and doing our Whatnot show all year. Know that, I'm right about 2/3 of the time. Maybe a little less than 2/3 this year. But I'm right more often than I'm wrong. This was not the week, though, and it happens. And overreactions. I wonder whether or not there's somebody out there that you could buy in this offseason who comes back stronger next year, maybe with a better coach, maybe with some weapons. Is it Herbert? Is Herbert the guy? Is he, Andrew says, forget it, he's done. Is Josh Allen going to be the guy if people buy into what Andrew is saying and, he's a fraud and they dump? Maybe. It'd be interesting to see. So hope you enjoyed this one, guys. We'll be back with a full one. We got some guest episodes coming up this week. We got a couple of good ones, actually. So enjoy those and, enjoy the games coming up this week. I'm excited. I'm watching LeBron, man. I know it's an NFL episode, but another 37-point game last night. I think, since he turned 38, his lowest is like 23. He scored 40 a couple times. I know he's not as good as Kobe, everybody, but it's been fun to watch him perform this season. So we'll keep an eye on that. Nice, fun little short Monday episode for you guys. Enjoy. Thanks, Luca Nation. We'll talk to you soon.